This is really going to be very quick. Hi, everybody. Dennis Kafoko, the passionate farmer, the business enthusiast, the man of God. Previously, I talked about Sarah and Hagar and the pact they had made with Abraham. As I was giving you those verses, I also was prompted to go back and try to read more about what was in there. And I was intrigued by one of the verses, actually Genesis 20, verse 2, where Abraham said of his wife, "She is my sister." Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. So it kept me thinking, why did Abraham actually say wife was the sister in that kind of, I would call it, confession? So I wanted to go back more and find out who was Sarah. To those that have actually read those very verses that I'm talking about in Genesis, it relates Abraham to Haran and Nahor, something like that. Those are the brothers of Abraham, and it links Abraham to Terah. Terah is the father of Abraham, and in some verses, actually, there seem to be some contradiction on who Sarah actually is, but it puts it that some put it that Sarah is actually sister to Abraham. Others put it that Sarah was a daughter to Haran, who was a brother to Abraham, but that would make Sarah a niece in a way. But in Genesis 20, verse 2, when Abraham comes out to say of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister," then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her away. What does that exactly mean? Sarah's 127 years of life, she was enslaved in Egypt. She is released from Egypt from bondage when God sends for the plague. We know she was unable to bear children for most of her life. Actually, she got to bear to have Isaac at the age of 90 after the promise that God had made for her and Abraham. We see that Sarah at one point, we see Sarah through surrogate. Surrogate is when she made that covenant or pact with Abraham to bear a child with Hagar. Hagar was an Egyptian house girl in Sarah and Abraham's house. Yeah, was an Egyptian in Sarah's house. So they had an agreement, and Abraham had to have Ismail born from Hagar. And of course, God had made the promise that they would still have a child anyway. And they laughed at it. Jacob was at 99 years of age, Sarah was at 90, and God's promise was for them to have a child at that time, which was according to Abraham Raphael, and he laughed about it. Sarah equally laughed about it, but God took it with Sarah's laughing and tried to fulfill it in a strong way that it really happened. And see, so you know, a lot of things have been going on around Israel and Palestine. You've heard of the wars there, and the whole birth of Ismail and Isaac, to those that have followed the events, they are the birth of two kind of lineage, call it lineage, where it's said that Ismail gives the lineage of the Muhammad and the Islamic religion, and the Arabic or Arab kind of backgrounds, where the lineage of Isaac gives the actually Isaac was the father of Esau and Jacob. Remember, I told you about the story of Jacob, who had 12 sons, and one of them was Joseph, right? I told you about the story of Joseph. The 12 sons of Jacob ended up being the rulers of 12 tribes in Israel. And among those lines, it's where King David comes from, and later on, it's believed that's where Jesus of Nazareth also comes from. So the whole contradiction of Sarah being the daughter to Terah, who was also known to be the father of Abraham, Haran, I don't know whether it's pronounced as Haran or Haran, but it's Haran, and Nahor, who are the brothers to 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 Abraham. The whole contradiction of the surrogate story, the whole contradiction of Abraham being fearful of his life due to the beautiful Sarah, and willingly giving Sarah away to the Pharaoh. Pharaoh took it through the Abimelech, king of Gera. Remember that story, the verse that I talked about when she was taken away. And actually, in return, Abraham received a lot of gifts. He was treated very well in the kingdom of in Pharaoh's kingdom. He was treated very well, given a lot of gifts because of Sarah. And in one of the verses, it says that actually Abimelech never touched Sarah for all her period, because God intervened through the dream, and made it known to Abimelech that Sarah was the wife to Abraham. So when he got that revelation, he had to send them away from their kingdom. They moved out. They moved out. What is interesting is how even through surrogate, even which is accepted, and how Sarah got to have uh, Isaac. Later tables turned, and Hagar was and Hagar and the Ismail son were just packing away from the households of Sarah and Abraham, which was a very tough decision for Abraham to do again. Very tough, because Abraham believed Ismail was his son, and indeed Ismail was his son. But he had to send Hagar and Ismail away, who went and suffered in the desert. At some point, it is written that Hagar almost saw the son Ismail dying. She put she put Ismail, the young Ismail, under the tree and went and hid so that she wouldn't see Ismail dying in the desert. But again, God intervened in there and saved the situation through revelation. Somehow, Hagar went and saw a stream of water which saved the whole dying of hunger. What do we learn from here? How do we relate this to the controversies that are happening on the control lines in Israel and Palestine and the war? What do we learn from the Jews not accepting Jesus as as the Son of God, but rather seeing him as a human being and promoting their Judaism religion? But later on, the Romans, we've seen through Apostle Paul, when the Romans accepted Jesus, and the whole story of Christianity is burst from those lines. What do we learn from? Because it's to those, maybe I haven't mentioned it, the lineage of Ismail is believed to be the lineage that we see Prophet Muhammad. It is believed to be the line we see the Islam religion starting up. The line of Isaac is believed to be the line of Christianity, where Jesus and all that comes from. We see also related to the current occasions where we see Muslims are allowing to marry 4 women, where the first wife has to accept for to the man so that the man can have other three women. It has to be through the first wife first to accept it. Because those things are coming from that surrogate situation of Sarah and Hagar. When Sarah accepted Hagar to birth Ismail, as actually was have to be the wife in the wife. So that Islam as a religion borrows it from that line. I'm doing so much more of the reading of the same. It's very interesting. I would encourage you also to go read those very same verses, Genesis, from about 12 to chapter 20. There are different verses, all stories of Sarah, all stories of Abraham, all stories of Hagar are there. I will deeply come back to talk more about the sacrifices, the later time when Jesus came to test Abraham through sacrificing of Isaac. But I will also come back to talk about Hagar, how she survived through the desert, where she went there after, how it then became to be the Arab region or the Arab tribe and Islam region being birthed from those angles. The separation in Christian and Islamic lines, the Cold Wars in between the nations that we see that have come from basically a household of Abraham from the two ladies, Hagar and Sarah. Dennis Afoko is my name. I'm the passionate farmer, as always, the man of God and the business enthusiast. Keep tuned. This whole month is for Sarah and Hagar and Abraham and Isaac. Cheers.